There might be situations where you're going to bed at a certain time, especially if you're someone who has insomnia, and you find out that, okay, I know that I'm going to be up for many hours during the night. So let me be proactive by getting to bed early so that, I have more time in bed. And what you're doing that way, even though you might think you're helping yourself, is actually harming your sleep more. Because what happens when you're in bed for prolonged periods of time, trying hard to sleep, is that it decreases what we call your sleep efficiency, or you can think of it as your sleep intensity. Some people talk about your sleep quality. You know, that type of sleep where you wake up in the morning and you just still feel so tired, you still feel unrefreshed. You find out that there are prolonged like gaps over the course of the night because you're waking up and you're trying and you're waking up and you're trying. So today we're going to be talking about three things you can do to increase your sleep intensity and improve your sleep quality. And if you don't know me, I'm Dr. Brown, Dr. Funke Afolabi-Brown. And I'm a sleep physician. I'm the founder of the Restful Sleep Place and Restful Sleep MD. And we have a mission which is to help you and your child, your children improve sleep so you can thrive and reach your fullest potential. So if you have not signed up or subscribed to this YouTube channel, I want you to do that by clicking the link below. That way, you'll always be the first to know once we have new content come up. So let's talk about these things. Now, you may have heard this in one way, shape, or the other. You may have even heard it on this channel, but I'm going to give you some practical strategies about what you need to do exactly that would guarantee that you have better sleep. Listen, this is not necessarily something that is easy, right? If it was, you would have done it and, it'll be a walk in the park, right? But I can guarantee you that if you can intentionally follow these steps, you're going to be setting yourself up for really good sleep success. So, the first is this: you do not want to go to bed unless you are sleepy. Or you also want to make sure that you don't go to bed much earlier than you typically would fall asleep. Okay, now there might be a little bit different, right? If you, for instance, realize that you get into bed at 9:30 p.m. because that's when you hope that you can start to sleep, but oftentimes you're not falling asleep till 11:30 or 12 midnight, you're going to bed way too early, and that will decrease how efficient your sleep is. So if you're noticing that it's taking me a long time to fall asleep, I don't necessarily start to feel sleepy until about 11:30. My suggestion is to move that bedtime later. Okay, and usually what we do within our program at the Restful Sleep Place is actually give you what we call a sleep prescription. So you know exactly when you need to go into bed and exactly when you need to get out of bed, and you stay within the confines of that window. And it may feel like it's limiting initially, but this is something that's going to really set you up well for success. So, how on earth are you supposed to figure that out, especially if you've been someone who's gone to bed super early trying to fall asleep? There are a few things that you want to look out for. You want to look out for signs of sleepiness. Now, I'm saying sleepiness, not tiredness, because these two things are different. Sleepiness and tiredness are actually not the same thing. What is tiredness? Tiredness is probably that fatigue and exhaustion that you feel throughout the day if you're struggling with sleep issues. But when you are given an opportunity to sleep, you're not going to sleep. You feel very, what we call tired but wired, right? The light switch turns on, your heart is racing, you're just not able to sleep. That is tired, but it doesn't mean you're sleepy. What is sleepy? Sleepy is really that feeling of, drowsiness that comes upon you. You may notice your eyelids are getting heavy. You may notice that maybe you're watching TV and you're sort of nodding off. You may notice that you're yawning frequently, or you're trying to read something and you're just kind of going over the same thing over and over and over and over again. That is more likely a sign that you're sleepy. So wait for those telltale signs and make sure that you are not going to bed earlier than when you typically notice that you're falling asleep. Again, when we work with you, we kind of help you figure out what exactly that time is. So that's the really the first thing. The second thing I would say in terms of that bedtime is starting your routine about 30 minutes to an hour before you typically now would go to bed. So if, for instance, you've now decided, okay, you know what, I don't fall asleep until 11:30, you don't need to get into bed before 11 p.m. And so you now decide that, okay, when am I going to start my routine? Because if I start my routine, which I typically used to do at 9 p.m., now you're going to have like an hour and a half or 2 hours to sort of fill your night with something. And that's where the temptation to get on your phone and doom scrolling starts. So I want you to push back even your typical bedtime routine. So don't start your bedtime routine until about 30 minutes to an hour before. So that way you can do whatever it is you like to do during the day. Sort of, it gives you a longer day in that sense because what you're doing is building your sleep drive. So you could fill your bedtime routine with things that will relax you. Again, you want to start about 30 to 60 minutes before. So that might look like taking a bath, listening to some calming and relaxing music, lighting a scented candle, journaling. Again, all those things will tell you is sleep is impending. So that also helps in addition to sort of a later bedtime where you're waiting to make sure you're sleepy before you go to bed. And so this is really, really important because when you're doing this, you're really being intentional about improving your sleep. Then the third thing I want you to note about this is use your bed for sleep. I've said this over and over again. I'll say it again. Use your bed for sleep. Your bed is not supposed to be the place where you're worrying, where you're ruminating. That is a non-sleep related activity. The same way your bed is not supposed to be where you're watching TV or you're eating or you're scrolling on social media or you're finishing work emails. All those things fall under the same bucket. Use your bed for sleep, okay, and sleep related activities only. So that's really important. So we've kind of talked through going to bed when you're sleepy. The reason why I always talk about that this is your brain makes this association. So you want to strengthen the association such that, think about it, you're going to bed at a time that's better aligned and it's more like you're more likely going to fall asleep. You are starting a routine which kind of cues your brain. And once you get into bed, your brain knows what it's supposed to do. It's not figuring out, wait, what are we supposed to do, right? So that's really important. So that's the first big category of things that I want you to do when it comes to increasing your sleep intensity. The second is get out of bed when you're not sleepy. Okay? Again, remember when you get into bed, your brain is supposed to be saying, oh, we're in bed, it's time to sleep. So if you're in bed and sleep is not coming for one reason or the other, and then you start to feel frustration, that's a non sleep related activity. Okay, frustration, worry, stressing, agonizing about sleep, ruminating, they're all non sleep related activities. So if you notice that's happening, just get yourself out of bed. And this is how I usually recommend. Some people will say, wait for 20 minutes and then get out of bed. You're not looking at the time. I don't want you looking at the time because when you watch the clock, when you're in bed and you're struggling, it only causes frustration because now you're doing a lot of math, and math and sleep don't necessarily go together. So if you figure out, like, okay, I've turned to one side looking for a comfortable position, and oh, I don't still feel sleep coming, I'm turning to the other side. Once you get to that second turn, it's usually anywhere about 15 to 20 to 30 minutes. So that is the cue to say, okay, this is not about to happen right now. We're going to go and occupy the time with things that we enjoy, right? I don't want you white knuckling sleep. This is where you start to say, okay, I'm going to try even harder. Okay, I'm going to think of 100 sheep jumping over the fence. No, 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 no. Once you start to get into that fight, flight, more increased worry, anxiety about the next day, that's the cue to get out of bed. So get out of bed and do what? Oh my goodness. I think this is something that paralyzes a lot of people where they're like, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do awake. Everybody else is asleep. I'm just going to lay in here and be very still and try to make sleep come. I want you to think of it like this: sleep will come when it's ready. Okay. So if you notice that you're having a hard time, getting that calm state, when you get out of bed, just find things that fill your cup. Most people will say, don't go on TV, don't do this, that, or the other. I think the content of what you're watching on TV is what you really need to be cautious about. Like if you choose to watch C-SPAN, right, or something really low key, no action movies or things like that, you can occupy your time. You just have to be careful that it's not like you're not like, okay, I'm going to finish like 2 episodes of a very amazing series, and then when sleep comes, you miss it, right? That's the point. So you can elect to do non-TV, non-screen activities, maybe play cards solitaire cards, maybe do some journaling or sketching, maybe make a grocery list, right? Think about things that are not necessarily painfully boring, but are not stimulating at the same time. Think of things that are very calming and relaxing for you. And you know what? I want to task you with that today. Come up with those activities. Like, what are things that I can do if I cannot sleep? You may say, okay, I'm going to take up knitting. I'm going to take up, scrapbooking. Like I said, I'm going to do some organizing. Maybe I have a whole stash of photos that I need to have put together and I didn't get a chance to do that. I'm going to do that. So once you get into that situation that you're like, okay, sleep is not coming, you already know what exactly you're going to do. And then finally, once you start to feel the waves of sleepiness, how do you feel it? I talked about that. Your eyelids now start to get heavy. You start to sort of nod a little bit. You start to notice you're yawning more. You start to find that you're out in and out of focus, in and out of focus. Those are triggers. Those are signs that it's time to go to sleep. Not your clock. Not you saying, oh my gosh, I've been up for 20 minutes. I must be sleepy now. No, listen to your body above all else. So that is the second big category. Don't go to bed. Or if you're in bed and you cannot sleep, get out of bed, right? The third thing is so important. It feels hard. You can do it. I'm here to cheer you on. And that is get up at the prescribed rise time. Get up at the same time every day, no matter what happens. Meaning that you may have had a crappy night. So remember, I told you about, getting out of bed when you're not sleepy and then getting back into bed when you're sleepy. That's called stimulus control. Many people, initially, when you start to do this, many people actually, it feels like it's worse before it gets better. Because you may notice you're doing back and forth. You may get into bed again, and then the light should come on, and then you get out of bed. You may actually notice that. And there's going to be a natural temptation to say, well, I had a really rough night. I'm just going to sleep in. Sleeping in is the most dangerous thing you could do when it comes to improving your sleep intensity and your sleep efficiency. So don't sleep in. Here's what I recommend you do. Set that alarm clock. You don't need to, and avoid hitting snooze. And I've done a series on that before. Avoid hitting snooze. Avoid, laying and, throwing the alarm clock away. Preferably, you want to put the alarm clock somewhere where you won't like be able to reach it. So if you're going to go grab that alarm to turn it off, you will have to get up, go grab that alarm to turn it off. And if you're already up, then you're up, just start your day. And so try to set that time consistently. And you have to determine that. It's up to you to figure that out. Is it 6 a.m.? Is it 5:30? Is it 7? This is regardless of what your night was like. So even if you had the most amazing or the roughest or whatever kind of night, somewhere in between, you still want to wake up the same time. Because when you wake up the same time, it's almost like that internal clock resets so that your day can start. And it also sets you up for better sleep the next night. Now, what are things that you can do that can help motivate you? I think it's really getting up and moving, movement and light. Those are my two main things. Get up, get moving, and light. Get up, get moving, and light. So light can come from, opening all the windows, making sure light streams into your room. You could use a seasonal lamp, the a light box. You could use so many tools where you're exposing yourself. Artificial light is fine, and you want to expose yourself to that light for at least 30 minutes and within the first 30 minutes of getting out of bed. What that will do is it is triggers alertness, which helps prompt, being able to move and being able to get about your day. And find things that you can do during the day, even if you're staying at home, walk the dog, make some coffee, plan your day. Things that you can look forward to, phone a friend, plan to meet up with a friend, things that you can look forward to help you. Because if your day looks bleak where you don't really have much going on, I had a client of ours who stopped working. She took FMLA because she wanted to focus on her sleep. Of course, that was before she came to meet us. I usually will say, I need you more than before to make sure you get to that job. Your job, you should not be a victim of your sleep issues. So get up, get moving, start your day, make it consistent, make it count. Now, we're talking about these three main categories of activities: not going to bed until you're sleepy, not going to bed earlier than when you typically would fall asleep, getting out of bed if you cannot sleep and doing something relaxing and getting back into bed when you start to feel sleepy, waking up at the same time every night, every morning, regardless of what your night was like. What's that going to create? It's going to create more tiredness. It's going to create a little more sleepiness. But that right there is what you're looking for. Because what that will do is it will help you to sleep better the next night. So when you start to feel like, oh God, I'm so tired, oh my goodness, I'm going to improve my sleep intensity for the next night. So I want you to change that narrative in your head, because people are scared of doing this more because they're like, oh my God, I'll be exhausted. But listen, you're not sleeping anyway and you're still going to be exhausted, right? So how about if we work on optimizing your sleep in this way so that your sleep is better the next night and the next night and the next night. And you can, before you know it, we can have this insomnia way behind us. So I want you to go ahead and try some of these tips. Now, this is the thing. I talked about the sleep prescribing, I talked about stimulus control. These are things that are evidence based, they're research, they work, but sometimes you do need guidance. So if you're in a situation where you're like, I don't think I could do this on my own, or you feel like you've tried it and you're not getting the results you want, it's time to speak with a sleep specialist. And that's what we do at the Restful Sleep Place. We would love to go alongside you in our insomnia program to help you do this, to help you get better. We've helped so many people who have struggled insomnia for years, for months, for weeks, whatever the cause is. These strategies can work with the right guidance and the right tools. So schedule an appointment, come see us, especially if you are located in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and California. Even if you're not, we offer coaching programs which we offer across all states, and we would love to be able to help you. Give us a call, 215-607-8297. That's really where you can get us. And would love to see you, would love to help you. And so I hope this has been helpful. We've talked about a lot of things. You got this. Insomnia does not define you. Your sleep issues do not define you. There are tools available which you have access to through us, and we would love to continue to help you. So share this, subscribe to our channel. Let me know how it's connecting with you. Let me know what you're going to be trying, what you're going to be working on. Let me know, for instance, what activities will you engage in when you have that night waking? Yes, that's what I want you to put out in the comments so that we can all learn from each other and we continue to improve sleep. And so until next time, I hope you rest well.